All right, everybody, welcome back. Jumping right in today, we're looking at this statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu on Syria.
Yeah.
And he's using some pretty strong language.
Yeah.
Talking about a historic day and things like that.
It's a historic day, he says. And the collapse of the Assad regime.
Right.
We're seeing the end of tyranny in Damascus.
That's
pretty strong stuff.
Yes, very strong. And,
what do you make of that?
this is a very different tone than we've heard from Israel in the past.
Right.
The Syrian civil wars have been going on for, over a decade now?
Yeah, more than a decade.
Over a decade. And Israel has always kind of taken this cautious approach to it. They've been concerned about the spillover of the conflict.
Right.
The possibility of refugees, Hezbollah getting stronger.
Right.
All of these sorts of dangers that come with a chaotic situation on their border.
Right.
But they've never really sort of come out and said, this is it. This is the end.
Right.
This is a turning point. And he seems so sure.
And he seems very sure. And so you have to ask yourself, what has changed?
Why now?
Why is he so confident?
Yeah.
And I think, one possibility is that he sees something that we don't see. He has access to intelligence information.
Sure.
He's talking to people on the ground.
Right.
And maybe he has a sense that things are really shifting.
That Assad really is on his way out.
That Assad really is on his way out.
Okay, so if that's the case, if this really is a turning point,
right?
He talks about both great opportunity,
yes,
and significant dangers.
Right.
Let's talk about the opportunity first.
Okay.
What is he seeing here? What's the potential upside for Israel?
Well, I think you have to look at it from, Israel's strategic perspective.
Yeah.
One of their biggest concerns has always been Iran.
Right.
And Iran's influence in the region, Syria, has been a key ally for Iran.
Right.
And so if Assad falls, that weakens Iran's position.
So that's good for Israel.
That's good for Israel. It also weakens Hezbollah.
Okay.
Which is a, terrorist organization.
Right.
Backed by Iran.
Based in Lebanon.
That operates in Lebanon.
Right.
But has been very active in the Syrian civil war.
Right.
And so if Assad falls, Hezbollah is also weakened. And that's, another big plus for Israel.
Okay, so less Iranian influence, less Hezbollah.
Right.
That sounds pretty good.
That sounds pretty good.
But what about the dangers?
Well,
what are those significant dangers that he's talking about?
So, we were just talking about all the different groups that are involved in Syria. You have the Syrian government.
Right.
You have all these rebel groups, some of whom are more moderate, some of whom are more extremist.
Right.
You have Hezbollah, you have Iran.
Right.
You have Russia.
Turkey.
You have Turkey.
The U.S. is in there.
The U.S. is in there.
It's a real mess.
It's a very, very complicated situation.
Yeah.
And if Assad falls, the question is what happens next?
Right.
Is there going to be, a peaceful transition to a new government?
Right.
Or is it just going to descend into even more chaos?
Right. More fighting.
More fighting, more violence.
Yeah.
The potential for a humanitarian crisis is enormous.
Right.
We've already seen millions of Syrian refugees fleeing the country. And if things get worse, that number could increase dramatically.
And those people are going to go somewhere. Neighboring countries are going to feel the pressure.
Absolutely.
Including Israel.
Okay. And so that's a big concern for Israel. Another concern is that a power vacuum could be filled by extremist groups.
Like ISIS.
Or Al-Qaeda.
Right.
Groups that are even more hostile to Israel than Assad was.
So this could actually make things worse.
Even
if Assad goes.
And then, there's also the question of what happens to Syria's chemical weapons. Assad has used chemical weapons against his own people. And so there's a lot of concern about what could happen to those weapons.
Right, if they fall into the wrong hands. Wow. So it sounds like Netanyahu is really kind of walking a tightrope here.
He is.
He sees an opportunity.
Yeah.
But he's also very aware of the dangers.
Absolutely.
And it's a very complicated situation.
It's a very, very complicated situation.
So for those of us, watching this unfold from a distance, what should we be paying attention to?
I think the key thing to watch is what happens to the other players in the region.
Okay.
You know, we've talked about
Russia and Turkey.
Russia, Turkey, Iran,
Right.
the U.S.
Yeah.
All of these countries have interests in Syria.
Right.
And they're all going to be trying to influence the outcome.
Okay.
So the question is, are they going to cooperate to try to stabilize the situation, or are they going to compete with each other and make things even worse?
All right. So everyone keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, this is a developing situation.
We'll see what happens.
We will indeed.
Really appreciate the insight as always.
My pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, you know, this is a really complex situation.
It is.
So keep learning.
Yes.
Keep informed.
Keep informed.
And we'll be back soon
We will.
to deep dive into more of the news.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.